Hello everybody, it's your boy Prof. I was checking out the Discord suggestion tab. This video looked real interesting. It's about the man who killed millions and saved billions. How does that work? I got no idea, but maybe after 22 minutes we'll find out. Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
The 1918 Nobel Prize for Chemistry is probably the most important Nobel Prize ever awarded. It was given to German scientist Fritz Haber for solving one of the biggest problems humanity has ever faced. His invention is directly responsible for the lives of 4 billion people today.
Jesus.
But when he received his prize, many of his peers refused to attend. 2 other
It's the bald head, isn't it?
Nobel Prize winners rejected their awards in protest. And the New York Times wrote a scathing article
Nobel
about
Prizes
him.
that go baking?
He is simultaneously one of the most impactful and tragic scientists of all time.
I know. He invented condoms. It makes sense, right? Saved billions, killed... Wait, no. A bit the other way. I don't know. We'll find out.
Perhaps more than any other single person, he has shaped the world we live in today. Part of this video is sponsored by Ren.
Nuclear
More about
bombs?
them at the end of the show.
Ren? Vren? America.
If you are an American citizen and you find an island with a lot of bird poop on it, well then you can claim that island for the United States, and the US will have your back. The president
I guess they've been taking their British history seriously, huh?
is authorized to send in the Navy and the Army to defend
your
newly discovered poop-covered island. There are currently 10 American islands that were claimed.
Baker, Howland, Jarvis, Johnston, Kingman, Midway, Navassa, Bajo Nuevo, Serranilla, Swains Island.
In this way.
Okay.
And even though the law that made this possible was passed in 1856, it is still in effect to this day. So why did people want poop-covered islands so badly?
That's a good question.
There are a few dozen islands off the coast of Peru where millions of seabirds gather to mate. The waters near the island are full of fish.
They gather to mate. It's like a gigantic orgy? Yo, let's go, birds.
And these millions of birds eat the fish, and then they poop. A lot.
When's the fucking?
Since the region is hot and dry, this poop solidifies and accumulates over millennia. There are cliffs of bird poop 30 meters or 100 feet high.
Really? Hey.
Technically, bird poop is called guano, and by the mid-1800s, buying and selling bird guano was big business. The price rose as high as $76 per pound.
Per pound?
Meaning you could trade 4 pounds of guano for 1 pound of gold.
So why was there such a big market for bird poop? Well, to answer that, we have to look inside the human body.
You know that was filmed in America. You know how I know? There are so many cars in the video, 0 people walking.
By weight, most of our bodies are made up of oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. But the 4th most common element is nitrogen.
Or
nitrogen is part of the amino acids that form proteins. It's part of hemoglobin, the compound that carries oxygen in red blood cells. And it's a central component of DNA and RNA. Nitrogen is essential for all life on Earth.
Nemo.
We get our nitrogen by eating plants.
Those tomatoes look disgusting. Jesus.
Animals which have eaten plants.
Hey, what's up, burger?
Plants get their nitrogen from the soil. The problem is, if you farm the same soil year after year, you harvest the nitrogen out of it. And eventually, there isn't enough nitrogen for healthy plants to grow. They can't produce enough chlorophyll to photosynthesize, which stunts their growth. Their leaves turn yellow, and they are more susceptible to pests and disease. Crucially for farmers, nitrogen deficiency means smaller yields. The way to fix this is to add nitrogen back into the soil. which is where bird guano comes in.
Wait,
Guano
does it need to be bird guano? Like, we used, when I was growing up with grandma in the village, we used like normal poop, like animal poop, not bird poop.
is up to 20% nitrogen. Hundreds of years ago, Incan farmers realized that adding guano to their soil made crops grow taller. This is what allowed them to grow food in places that were
place looks
previously
awesome.
unfarmable and expand their empire. South America's rich deposits of bird poop did not go unnoticed by the rest of the world.
Rich
In
deposits of bird poop.
1865, Spain went to war against its former colonies of Peru, Chile, Ecuador, and Bolivia
For bird
for
poop.
control of their guano-laden islands.
Can you imagine you living in the 16th century? Some motherfucker kills you, you're like, why did we fight this war? Bird poop. I died for bird poop.
But such was the world's appetite for nitrogen that by 1872, guano was running out, and Peru banned further exports.
Wow.
The world would need another way to get its nitrogen fix.
That's insane. I had zero idea about any of
This
this.
was a crisis. William Crookes, a British chemist, made a dire prophecy in 1898. With the world's growing population and dwindling supplies of nitrogen, he said, "We stand in deadly peril of not having enough to eat. In less than 30 years' time," he argued, "people
30
all over the
years.
world will be dying of starvation." But he also proposed a solution. It is
Kill the
the
people.
chemist who must come to the rescue. It is through the laboratory that starvation may ultimately be turned into plenty.
Plenty starvation, plenty food.
Because here's the thing, nitrogen isn't rare, it's common. 78% of the air is nitrogen. But it's in a form that plants and animals can't use. 2 atoms of nitrogen triple bonded together.
Okay.
This bond is one
that's-
of the strongest.
I wish we had this in chemistry class. We had none of these. We had some of those, I don't know if you guys seen them. It's like a toothpick, and they're like put inside of them, the balls, but you can't really, take them out and stuff.
in nature.
This looks
The
dope.
way to measure the strength of a chemical bond is by the amount of energy that's required to break it. So, to break apart 2 chlorine atoms, for example, would take 2.5 electron volts. To break apart 2 carbons requires 3.8 eV. 2 oxygens, 5.2 eV. But to break apart 2 atoms of nitrogen requires 9.8 electron volts, a tremendous amount of energy.
I'll trust him on that one. He still clapped it wrong.
There are 2 processes that do this naturally. Lightning releases so much energy it breaks apart N2 into individual nitrogen atoms. They then quickly react to form nitrogen oxides. And these molecules stay in the atmosphere until they react with water droplets in clouds and fall to the ground in rain. There are also a few types of bacteria living in soil that can break the N2 bond, using a tremendous amount of energy to do so. And they make nitrogen available for plants.
But bacteria only replenish the nitrogen slowly, and there's not enough lightning to produce nitrogen compounds at scale. So chemists tried.
In 1811,
Wow.
Georg Hildebrandt mixed nitrogen and hydrogen in a sealed
Georg?
flask, trying to make ammonia, one of the nitrogen-containing molecules found in guano. When that didn't work, he submerged the flask 300 meters underwater to increase the pressure. And that didn't work either, but he was on the right track.
Increasingly sophisticated versions of these experiments were carried out over the following 100 years. All of them failed.
So when Fritz Haber became interested in this problem in 1904, he was joining a long line of failed chemists. He was 36 years old, working as a low-level academic at the University of Karlsruhe. He was also a new father, with a 2-year-old boy named Hermann and a wife, Clara, who was one of the
No one in that picture looks happy.
first women to get a PhD in chemistry.
Oh, shit.
Driven by pride and competition with another scientist, Haber spent 5 years on the problem. His idea was to combine nitrogen and hydrogen not only at high pressure, but also at high temperature, and in the presence of a catalyst, something that lowers the amount of energy required to split diatomic nitrogen. To do this, new experimental apparatus had to be invented. Haber worked tirelessly on this project, building equipment that could tolerate ever higher temperatures and pressures.
He also got lucky. At the time, he was moonlighting as a technical consultant for a light bulb manufacturer. So there he had access to lots of really hard to find materials, like the element osmium.
Osmium is rare. In his day, there was only about 100 kilograms of the refined metal in existence. But the company he worked for was experimenting with using it for filaments in their light bulbs, so they had most of the world's supply. Haber suspected it might make the perfect
That is lucky as hell.
catalyst, so he brought a sample back to his lab. And there, in the third week of March 1909, Haber placed his sheet of osmium in the pressure chamber.
Hey, look at his flag.
Then he pressurized and heated the nitrogen and hydrogen to 200 atmospheres and 500 degrees Celsius.
It's a German imperial flag, right?
Under these conditions, the triple bonds broke apart, and nitrogen reacted with hydrogen. Of the total gas mixture, 6% turned into ammonia. When the gas was cooled, 1 milliliter of ammonia dripped out the end of a narrow tube into a beaker. An elated Haber rushed from one lab to another, yelling, "Come on down, there's ammonia!" Germany's biggest chemical company, BASF, commercialized Haber's process. Within 4 years, they had opened a factory in Oppau, producing 5 tons of ammonia per day.
Wow. Can you imagine the smell?
People spoke of making bread from the air. With the fertilizer from this industrial process, on the same plot of land, farmers were able to grow 4 times as much food.
Wow.
And as a result, the population of the Earth quadrupled. There's a good chance you owe your life to Haber's invention.
Damn.
The Earth support
Now I know who to blame that I'm suffering like this every day. Jesus.
4 billion more people today than it could without nitrogen fertilizer.
Cabbage!
In fact, around 50% of the nitrogen atoms in your body came from the Haber process.
Oh, thank you.
The invention made Fritz Haber a wealthy man. He got a promotion, becoming the founding director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physical Chemistry in Berlin.
I know that dude.
He also befriended some of the best scientists of his day, including Max Planck, Max Born, and Albert Einstein.
Max Planck.
After Einstein separated from his first wife in 1914, he stayed the night at Haber's house.
Aww.
But if Haber was so well regarded, why was he shunned by colleagues when he won the Nobel Prize?
It's a good question.
Well, it all comes down to what happened in World War I.
What happened with the war?
When the war broke out, Haber volunteered for military duty.
Is it the gases? I know they used gases, that's why they had like the German stormtroopers or whatever, the dudes with the gas masks that are very scary, right? Did he make some of that shit?
Unlike pacifist Einstein, who denounced the war, Haber was a patriot. He wanted to use his expertise to help his country. Only a few months into the war, the German army was already running out of gunpowder and explosives. Ammonium nitrate, besides being an excellent fertilizer, is also an explosive. Just look at what happened in Beirut in August of 2020.
Bags up. Holy shit.
A warehouse containing almost 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate caught fire. And in the extreme heat, the fertilizer detonated. The blast, which could be heard hundreds of kilometers away, killed at least 217 people and injured thousands.
I'm gonna be honest with you, when I saw that explosion, I thought everybody was dead. 200 people, that's a lot, but...
Seismometers registered an artificial earthquake measuring 3.3 on the Richter scale. This is just one of many fertilizer-related explosions. The Oppau plant, where Haber's process was first put into practice, would also explode in 1921.
Is that the giant hole there?
And the reason is nitrogen. we've already seen that it takes a tremendous amount of energy to break apart nitrogen's triple bond. But the flip side of that coin is that when two nitrogen atoms come together and form that bond, a huge amount of energy is released.
The explosions of gunpowder, TNT, nitroglycerin, and ammonium nitrate all form diatomic nitrogen gas as a product. And the formation of that triple bond is where these chemicals derive much of their explosive energy. Haber lobbied to convert the factories using his process to make ammonia for fertilizer to create nitrate for explosives instead.
TNT.
His superiors believed such a conversion to be impossible, but Haber persisted, and soon his chemical process was at the heart of the German war machine. From bread out of the air to bombs out of the air.
Oh man.
But Haber thought chemistry could make an even bigger contribution to the war.
A bigger
In
bomb.
December 1914, he witnessed a chemical weapons test. He was unimpressed. Haber believed that he could be...
Imagine looking at war crimes, literal war crimes, and being like, I could do better. And doing better, probably.
He set out to make a gas that was deadly
Yeah, I
at low
knew it.
concentrations.
I caught
and
it.
heavier than air, so it would sink into enemy trenches.
Oof.
Projectiles carrying chemical weapons were banned, at least
Same
in
from the
theory,
use of-
by the Hague Convention of 1899.
Hague?
But in practice, after the start of the war, Germany, France, and Britain all experimented with chemical weapons. Haber converted his wing of the Institute into a chemical weapons laboratory, and after only a few months of work, he zeroed in on chlorine gas. An employee, Otto Hahn, expressed his discomfort about the new weapon. Haber told him, innumerable human lives would be saved if the war could be ended more quickly in this way.
I mean, it's kind of what they did with the nuclear bombs, right? I don't know.
At 6 p.m. on the 22nd of April, with the wind blowing toward the Allied trenches, German troops released 168 tons of chlorine from over 5,000 gas cylinders. The wall of gas advanced across the battlefield. Since chlorine gas is 2.5 times heavier than air, it
falls
sank
down.
into the trenches of the Allied soldiers. Any soldier that inhaled a lungful of the gas suffered a terrible death. Chlorine irritates the mucus lining of the lungs so violently that they fill with liquid.
Oh, you choke?
The soldiers effectively drowned on dry land.
Bro. Damn.
More than 5,000 Allied soldiers died this way in the first attack.
Wait, 5,000 only? I was expecting some huge-ass numbers.
Haber was promoted to the rank of captain, and a week later he was back home in Berlin. On the 1st of May, the Habers hosted a dinner party, and after the party wound down, Fritz took sleeping pills and went to bed. But that night, his wife Clara took his gun and went outside into the garden, and there she fired a single shot into her chest.
To the chest?
Her 12-year-old son Herman heard the shot and ran outside to find his mother as she lay dying.
Hey, I ain't gonna say that's a bitch move, but that's a bitch move. Like, hey, okay, people died. Okay, you are sad. You have a son. Okay, come on. Come on. Like, Jesus.
The next morning, Fritz Haber was on a train to the Eastern Front to supervise a gas attack on the Russian army.
Some have claimed Clara killed herself because of her husband's obsession with chemical weapons. And that may have been part of it, but honestly we don't know because no first-hand accounts survive.
In the passage, Goran stated that Clara was vitally affected by her husband's involvement in the chemical warfare, committed suicide, and first about what she considered to be a perversion of science and a sign of barbarism. Goran gives no evidence of such a scenario against apparently the much quoted phrase of perversion of science and barbarism ascribed to Clara is Goran's own, apart from his political blah blah.
that support this interpretation. What we do know is that Clara was deeply unhappy in her marriage. In 1910, after being married for 8 years to Fritz, she wrote to a friend, "What Fritz has won during these 8 years, that and still more I have lost. And what remains ahead of me fills me with the deepest dissatisfaction."
Wow.
After Clara's suicide,
Most
Haber spent the
emotional
rest
German
of the war
ever.
running his institute, researching chemical weapons, gas masks, and pesticides.
Apologize.
By 1917, the institute employed 1,500 people, including 150 scientists. It was like a mini Manhattan Project, but for chemical weapons. In total, 100,000 soldiers were killed by chemical weapons in World War I. When Germany surrendered, Haber was crushed. All the money he made from his ammonia patent was lost to hyperinflation. In an attempt to pay off Germany's crippling war debt, he tried to distill gold from seawater, but the project was futile.
Hey,
In 1933, the Nazis came.
he did one impossible thing, why wouldn't he try another, right? Maybe in 100 years some motherfucker will be like, hey, let's try that gold from water shit and actually
to
succeed.
power and passed a law that all Jewish civil servants, including scientists, were to be fired from their jobs. Haber was Jewish, but he
Oh.
never practiced the religion. Regardless, his military service exempted him from the law, but he resigned from his role as director in solidarity with all the Jewish scientists who worked at the institute.
The next year, in a hotel room in Basel, Switzerland, he died of heart failure.
What about his son? One last thing.
Immediately after World War I, Haber's institute developed a cyanide-based insecticide. It had a barely detectable odor, so they mixed in a foul-smelling chemical to alert people to the danger. The resulting gas was called Zyklon B. A decade after Haber's death, the Nazis requested chemists remove the foul-smelling component.
Oh
And
god.
This form of Zyklon B, the chemical developed at Haber's institute, was then used to perpetrate the Holocaust.
And he was Jewish. That's fucked up.
Thinking about this story,
Straight up.
it would be easy to paint Haber as a villain,
I mean,
or as
if they won the war though. Hey, I ain't
As a
gonna say
hero.
any more on that one.
for inventing the process used to feed half the world. But another approach is to regard him as irrelevant to the larger story, because someone else would have figured out a way to process nitrogen out of the air.
Well,
And
probably,
other
but
scientists
they didn't.
were developing chemical weapons. Over the past few centuries, science and technology
Hey.
have improved
I disagree with this opinion. I don't think we should forget history just because we don't like the people that, made the things, right? Hey, it happened. Remember it, learn from it, right? Come on.
our lives immeasurably, but they have also given us ever increasing ways to destroy ourselves.
True.
I think it'd be great to believe that we could ask scientists to only work on problems that are good for humanity. But the reality is that every bit of information is a potential double-edged sword. You don't know the outcome of your research or how it might later be used. Ammonium nitrate is both a fertilizer and an explosive. So the real question is, how do we keep increasing our knowledge and control of the natural
Is he gonna go with this into the ad? No, that would be a savage maneuver. No, no,
world without destroying ourselves and everything else on this planet in the process?
no. Oh, he didn't. Okay.
So-
Fair enough. Hey, bro, if he went into the ad that he said from the start, I would have been like, I would have died. I would have fallen on the floor, died of laughter. That would be the most savage shit I've seen in a while. Honestly. Okay. Yo, this video was actually awesome. This channel is awesome. I'm gonna check out more of this. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Hope y'all learned something. And I'll see y'all next time, okay? Bye, everybody. Have a nice day.